Well, with vaccine passport rules popping up in places like New York City, there are questions about whether Chicago or maybe Illinois might adopt a similar policy. And joining us now to talk about vaccine passports is Professor Jacob Sherko from the University of Illinois College of Law. Thank you, Jacob, for being with us. Your research focuses on the legal and ethical implications of advanced biotechnologies, and you've written dozens of articles for scientific journals and law reviews. That said, let's talk about what the mayor's office, not indicating that they would pick up on this recommendation from City Council. How likely do you think that Chicago could go in that direction?
I mean, I think it ultimately depends on what the political appetite for these vaccine passports are. I think there's a large portion of Chicagoans and people here downstate too who really just want life to get back on track. And one of the best ways of doing that is by ensuring that people who are otherwise going to be in close confines, especially in indoor settings where masks are less favorable, such as in eating and drinking establishments, actually have the vaccine.
When you talk about, people in confined places, it really depends on what, I guess, what your political persuasion is. That's the way it seems to have gone here. Restaurant owners came out this week and said, you know what, this is not feasible for us to be able to do that. Can you talk about the obstacles that they point to as why this shouldn't happen?
I mean, it's otherwise tough to test whether or not someone actually has a vaccine or not. I mean, people can carry around those paper cards that they otherwise have. But there are these reports that people are going out and, purchasing them and getting them forged and what have you. With that being said, I mean, I do think the cases of forgery or fakery are relatively low compared to the number of people who actually have them. And I think that businesses and restaurants, to the extent that they want to make sure that they keep their patrons and their employees safe, they're certainly within their rights to otherwise do this. It hasn't really posed a practical obstacle in some other large cities. New York City is a great case example here, even though there were a lot of problems with the rollout of exactly what their vaccine passport did. So to the extent it's something that, businesses in Chicago and, elsewhere in the state want to adopt, I just frankly don't think it's really going to be that difficult.
Well, the U.S. government, do you think that that would be the easiest way? But given there's so much resistance from half the country on putting that into place, but could states sort of do this unilaterally without much of a legal challenge?
Well, I mean, so first of all, there's always legal challenges afoot. That's the thing that the pandemic has taught us more than anything, is that any attempt to institute a broad public health measure is probably going to find itself in court sooner rather than later. The kind of bigger issue, if you want to think of it this way, is kind of who's best situated to do it. Is it states or is it the federal government? The federal government is somewhat cabined in terms of essentially mandating vaccines, or if you want to think of it this way, as vaccine passports, for things that touch on interstate commerce. We can think of, for example, getting on an airplane that's going to cross state boundaries in that particular circumstance. But states themselves have a long history of implementing public health measures to ensure the safety, health, and welfare of their citizens. And so I think actually states, and again, to the extent that there's a good political appetite to do this in your given state, states are actually best positioned to ensure that they are the actors who are otherwise mandating this, again, to the extent that that is the route that they want to take.
Another difficult step for us all to negotiate. Jacob Sherko from the University of Illinois College of Law. Great to chat with you. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, take care.